welcome everybody to this week's installment of NASCAR Talk, Hot Stove Edition. Not a whole lot to talk about this week in terms of top-tier teams, but then again, most top-tier teams have got themselves well established, but there are some teams that are formulating for the secondary teams, if you will, a lot of your single and two-car teams for the 2017 season. I'm Seth Cole, and I'm being joined here this week by special guests JT Bryant and Michael Norman. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Quite fine.
All right, so let's get right into it with a couple of signings that have been announced in the past week or so. Let's start first off with the team of Front Row Motorsports. We've got Landon Castle. He's going to be coming back, but he's moving to the 34 car.
And David Reagan's return.
Yep, David Reagan in the 34.
Except he's driving the 38
in the 38, yeah. That's what I don't understand. I mean, Landon Castle was in the 38 last season. Why would you switch him over to the 34 and not put him back with the team he basically was able to well establish himself with in 2016?
Because logic. It's out the window. It's out the window in this scenario.
I mean, the only real good performance I can really remember out of the 38 car when Castle was driving it was at Bristol. Is the 34 car considered the number one car for that team, and that's why they're putting Castle in there, since maybe that team's got better equipment than the 38
You mean 34?
That's what I said.
Considering the upset win at Pocono, looks like it.
I mean, that ride's
I still think
two
that
wins
the 34,
so far.
I think the 34 does a lot better.
Probably does. And
this is also considering the alliance they have with Roush and the technical support they have from both Roush and Ford.
Right. And not only that, you've got David Reagan coming back to the team again, which, you know, this was one of the few moves for the offseason that I actually predicted. I thought for sure when I saw David Reagan was a free agent and I saw that Front Row Motorsports basically had all of its rides available, I thought to myself, it'd be a good idea for David Reagan, after running for BK Racing, to go back to Front Row Motorsports, a team that he's pretty well familiar with.
This is especially considering since he the victory lane for their first win a couple years ago. When was it?
2013?
13.
Yeah.
Yes, 2013.
2013 Talladega.
2013. Okay.
Shut up.
2013, really?
Oh, the mic does not lie.
So far into the future.
That's right. So it's looking like Front Row Motorsports going to just basically be a two-car team, much like they were last year. Do we see them trying to put a third team together for the 500 with Gilliland again, or do you think they're just going to stick with the two-car team for the entire season?
Who knows?
That's a good question. Who knows? But, hey, if it gets them a pretty good finish like it has been lately, never know.
So now
Definitely.
Let's step over to the other signing that's been announced, and that is Matt DiBenedetto moving from BK Racing this season over to Go Fast Racing in the number 32 for 2017. Now, a lot of people I've talked to, they feel that this is a downgrade for Matt DiBenedetto. And before I weigh in on this, I want to get your guys' opinion. We'll start with you, JT. Do you think this is a downgrade or an upgrade for Matt DiBenedetto in the Monster Cup Series?
I'm a bit divided on this, considering the fact that they acquired the 44's charter. We'll get to that. And considering the fact that they had multiple drivers throughout their every year they've in existence, too.
Michael,
I see it
your
as
thoughts?
a downgrade. I see it as a downgrade because Go Fast Racing isn't as fast or as competitive as BK Racing was.
Okay, so...
And
oh, go ahead. Keep going.
that's a big statement.
Okay, I actually was up on the fence on this, and then when I thought about it, though, there, to me, are three things that are in favor of Matt DiBenedetto. I feel this, to me, is an upgrade, and the reason is three reasons. Number one, JT already alluded to this. They've got a charter for next season. They're going to be able to make all 36 races. Go Fast Racing has announced they're going to run all 36 scheduled events. So that's one thing. Second thing is, Go Fast Racing, for the last couple of seasons, has really split that ride up between several different drivers. Last year, you had Labonte driving it at the super speedways. You had Jeffrey Earnhardt in the car. You had Joey Gase driving a couple of races. You know, there was really
as Boris said.
Yep, there was no established driver in that car. The fact that DiBenedetto is going to be driving that car for all 36 races says to me they're going to be able to have a skeleton they can work on putting the flesh on, starting at Daytona all the way to the end of the season. They'll be able to take information from one driver only. And thirdly, they're actually getting, I think it was 6 or 7 cars.
It was 6.
You think it was 6? Okay, from Richard Petty Motorsports out of the old 44 team. And we know that Richard Petty Motorsports, even though they're not really considered the top tier team, they've got cars that can be put together that can be good performing race cars to at least get them up inside the top 20, maybe even the top 15, depending on what tracks we're at. So to me, I feel this is actually an upgrade for DiBenedetto. I think that if DiBenedetto were splitting time in that ride with somebody else, then I would say it's a downgrade. But the fact that he's going to be in a full-time ride, a chartered ride for all 36 races, using cars that we know are capable of finding victory lane, case in point, Eric Almirola back at Daytona, I think this is a big opportunity.
Years ago.
I think this is an opportunity for Matt DiBenedetto to be able to establish himself, get consistency in a season. I honestly see it as an upgrade. And with that being said, DiBenedetto and that 32 team, the charter they're getting is coming from the 44. There's a lot of charter swapping going around here, but mostly in cases of leasing charters. Right now, what we have as far as leasing charters, we've got
the Wood Brothers.
Yeah, the Wood
leased a charter.
Yep. So we got the 44's charter being leased to the 32 team of Go Fast Racing. We've got the charter of, believe it was, let me see for certain here, just so I get my information correct. The 32's charter, Go Fast Racing's charter, being leased to Wood Brothers Racing. So Ryan Blaney will be locked into every race next season. And then you've got the charter of Premium Motorsports. That's being leased, I believe, to Joe Gibbs Racing 77 of Eric Jones, or not Joe Gibbs Racing, Furniture Row Racing, who gets their technical help from Joe Gibbs Racing. And I thought to myself, what's the deal with all these chartering swaps? Why not just sell the charter? Well, according to Jayski.com, the reason that they would be doing this is because with leasing their charter to a, quote, better team, they have a better chance of that charter not being one of the 3 worst chartered teams for 2017, which means that the value of that charter would be greater in 2018, and if they plan to lease it out again, they can ask more money. That's basically what that's all about.
Interesting concept.
Yeah. So what they're planning here, since there's technically no number 44 this season, Richard Petty Motorsports giving their charter, leasing it to Go Fast Racing, hoping that Go Fast Racing will be consistent enough to...
Ads going on.
Yeah.
In the room next to me.
No, okay. They're hoping that Go Fast Racing, they'll be able to have at least a consistent enough season. They won't be in the bottom 3. And then Go Fast Racing giving their charter to Wood Brothers. Pretty much we can say that probably Ryan Blaney's not going to be in the bottom 3 of chartered teams as well. So that's basically all it's about, just to try and increase the value of their charter for the next season, which I understand, but it makes things awfully confusing when you're trying to figure it all out on paper.
Yeah, it does.
A couple of other hot stove news stuff that's gone on. First off, Chris Buescher, a lot of people were wondering what his number was going to be driving that second team for JTG Daughtry Racing. and it was announced that it's going to be the number 37. A lot of people were saying, well, maybe it'll be the 46, maybe it'll be the 74. It ends up being the 37. Does that surprise you guys at all that they end up going with that number instead of maybe some other number that was out there as a
Could be more
possibility?
creative. Could be more creative.
It was a ball out of left field, if you ask me.
The thing I would say is I don't care for the 3 on the 37. They need to shrink it up a little, make it a little thinner. But anyway, Chris Buescher going to be in that second ride. Now, we obviously know that Fogg was on his side at Pocono, which got him his first then Sprint Cup Series win. Do we see Chris Buescher being able to do any better this season with JTG Daughtery Racing?
Considering how they're a mid-year type of team, I'd say so.
Do we see him doing better than Allmendinger for 2017?
I don't know.
Michael, you want to weigh in on this?
I don't think so. AJ Allmendinger's had it. AJ Allmendinger's a pretty good driver by himself, and I don't mean just on road courses. He's had some pretty good showings back in 2016.
Yeah, Martinsville.
Am I right?
One of them where he almost picked up another win.
Yeah. You almost got JTC Daughtery its oval win at Martinsville.
Yep. Also, the Stewart-Haas racing cars, we already knew that they were going to be moving over to Ford, and the promotional schemes have been unveiled. Kurt Busch's Haas Automation Ford, Kevin Harvick's Jimmy John's Ford, Danica Patrick's Nature's Bakery Ford, and Clint Boyer's Mobile One Ford. A lot of people were wondering how those schemes were going to look. I actually think they look pretty good on Ford Fusions, to be honest.
Honestly, it looked quite smoking.
So for Stewart-Haas Racing
It
moving
looked
to
quite-
Fords, are we going to see maybe something a little bit different out of that team? Because I think maybe the two biggest classes of the field last season were the Toyotas, obviously, of Joe Gibbs Racing. You can throw Martin Truex Jr. into that equation as well. And then probably the Penske Fords of Logano and Keselowski. Do we see now with the jump from Chevrolet to Ford, do we see Stewart-Haas Racing being able to kind of catch onto the coattails of Penske Racing, maybe be a little bit more competitive in 2017 than they were in 2016?
That'd be
Probably.
cool. And before Boyer wins the championship.
He could.
Oh my.
He's
I'll
made.
start calling stuff now.
Well, I mean, how many chases has Boyer made in his career? 3, I think.
How many chases has he won in his career?
None. I'm just trying to figure out how many chases
He's
he
won
made.
chase races in his career.
I know. I'm just poking fun at him. Nothing wrong with poking a little harmless fun at Clint Boyer.
Yeah, he'll
True.
come to your house and beat you up with 5-hour energy.
5-Hour Energy isn't technically sponsoring Clint anymore.
Yeah, not at the moment. As far as I'm aware, that they're not. I think they actually said they were planning on leaving the sport at least for a little bit. Speaking of sponsorship, though, Monster Energy, of course, now the new sponsorship replacing Sprint of the top tier
Roy.
NASCAR series. According to sources, they're signed for 2 years, which means that unless we end up getting an extension with them, we're going to be going through this whole rigmarole of what's the top tier series going to be called again in 2019. Which means that we definitely need to get like a group together to be able to sponsor the series in 2018. We got to come up with some kind of name.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
right?
surprised that they want to see more raw emotion in Cup.
Yeah, I don't know, but I heard that Coca-Cola was a possibility that was trying to get the sponsorship, which to me kind of would have made a little bit more sense. I mean, they've got the whole Coca-Cola racing families of drivers that they've had for a number of years. they've been more established in the sport.
Family road trip.
They've been
Damn it!
more established in NASCAR than Monster Energy has, to be honest. But now we're gonna get to our final topic here, and this is where we try and pick out of the air, try and predict stuff, because we've already talked about the fact that Go Fast Racing is getting the 44's charter. Word is, Richard Petty Motorsports is only going to be a single-car team for 2017 with Eric Almirola in the 43. The recently retired Bryant Scott's number 44 ride will not be running in the 2017 season, which means that's another ride that's off the grid for all those free agents that are still out there. Now, Casey Mears, he said that he's received offers. Greg Biffle has said that he has received offers.
I've seen people poke fun at what Greg Biffle's alluding to as well.
Which is what?
Oh, the obvious 69 references and all that.
Oh, I haven't seen anything about that.
I've seen it on Twitter.
Oh, I've not been up to date on that.
And carry on.
But I mean, we've got. Let me actually quickly bring up the list here of who we've still got out there as far as
Hang on.
Free agents are concerned. Let's see. So right now, for free agents that are still out there looking for rides, we've got still Greg Biffle, we've still got Casey Mears, Cole Witt, Josh Wise, Reed Sorensen. Is there any team out there right now established that you think we can see branch into a second team for them to be able to fit in? I mean, namely BK Racing. They signed their drivers to one-year deals, so that's why DiBenedetto, David Reagan, why they're not back with those teams. Do we see BK Racing in any way bringing somebody like Greg Biffle, like Casey Mears onto their team?
I don't know.
That, my friend.
If anybody, it'll
That's
probably
something
be Greg. I see Greg Biffle before
That,
anybody
my friend, is up for speculation.
Because let's keep in mind too, there's actually another chartered team out there, in the form of Premium Motorsports, who bought H. Scott Motorsports number 15 charter. So there's maybe a possibility. I mean, I don't necessarily know if Greg Biffle, who I guess is in a state of maybe semi-retirement, kind of like a Mark Martin deal, would he sign with a low-tier team, even though they're a charter team, but a low-tier team like Premium Motorsports?
I don't know.
Because there's not really, it doesn't seem like, much space up at the top tier, even the secondary tier teams, for Biffle to be able to slot in now, at least for a team that would have a charter.
Reminds me, the 23. If they were to sign Jeffrey Earnhardt to the 23,
Yeah, it brings up a good
it'd be a
point.
what if.
You do have the two BK Racing cars, which are also chartered rides, the 83 and the 23.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to see. Yeah, as far as it looks like BK Racing is planning to return for 2017. They just haven't named drivers. So there's basically 3 teams out there right now with charters, and that's Premium Motorsports and then the 2 rides for BK Racing.
There's also I heard there's also a rumor going around about Owen Racing moving to the Truck Series next year.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that.
Thoughts on that?
Haven't heard about that.
Hmm.
Pretty interesting. It's not really surprising because they've already come out with number revolving around Monster Energy Cup Series, so not really surprised about that, to be honest.
Don't blame me one bit.
Nope. So we've got 3 rides available basically, for chartered rides, and the guys we've got that look like they'd be the ones to fill in those spots would be either Biffle, Jeffrey Earnhardt, possibly Gilliland, possibly Labonte. I think those two are kind of in a state of semi-retirement. Casey Mears, Reed Sorensen, Josh Wise, and Cole Witt. So, in all honesty, I don't see Biffle taking any ride that's not chartered. So even though it'd be a downgrade, I kind of think if we do see Biffle back in 2017, we're going to see him with BK Racing. Casey Mears, I think maybe he'd be another fit over at BK Racing as well. And Cole Witt had some good runs with Premium Motorsports number 98 in 2016, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they sign him back. This also takes out, with the fact the 44 car is not going to be in the field for 2017, that takes away any rumors of Ben Rhodes coming up into the top tier series to drive that 44 car. So pretty much I think those rumors have been quelled with the fact that there will be no 44 next season.
Ben Rhodes really needs the time to develop before going up the Cup, if you ask me.
I agree. I thought when I heard the rumors, I thought that's just way too soon to be bringing him up to a top tier series ride at this current point in time.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that as well when I first heard rumors about Danica Patrick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I mean,
yeah, I can't agree. It is way too soon for him.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think we got to see him run at least one full-time season in Xfinity before he can make his step up there into the top tier. So that's basically going to do it here for this week. Yet not a whole lot to be able to cover since most of the big top stories have taken place, about a month and a half ago. But there still are a couple of teams out there, a couple of drivers still looking for rides. And if we end up having anything take place during the course of this week or, the next 2 weeks or so, we'll fill you in the next episode of NASCAR Talk Hot Stove. Hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a good New Year's. More than likely, we will not be having a NASCAR Talk episode prior to that, so we'll be seeing you guys after the holidays. And I want to thank JT and Michael for joining me here for this episode.
No problem.
I think Michael's actually AFK, so thank you.
Yeah, he said he would be right.
Oh, okay. All right, so thank you to Michael as well. If you guys want to join us for future NASCAR talks that are coming up, if we end up having where we're going to have guests on, I usually post it on the Facebook group, the NSRA Racing and Gaming page, and you can join us at whenever those episodes are recorded. Again, if you guys want to weigh in your opinions on where you think these drivers, like Biffle, like Mears, where they're going to go, who's going to fill in BK Racing's rides, who's going to fill in that 98 ride for Premium Motorsports, let us know down in the comments below. We'd love to have your input on who you think is going to go where. And then we'll also be having, in a couple of weeks, we'll be having our Daytona 500 preview, looking ahead towards the beginning of the 2017 season. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of NASCAR Talk Hot Stove.
Be sure to subscribe for more.
And Michael's back. Wow. You know how to go
to the bathroom. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go to the bathroom.
Let's tell that to the whole world on this recording.
I didn't.
Yes, we did. I'm still recording. Ha!
Be sure to subscribe for more. Where that came.